in the end, it always comes back down to, I think that it's a little bit of a cliche almost, but the people, process, technology, right? You need the people to be skilled, the right technology, and then you need to have the right process in place to pick which cases and really be thoughtful about it. So I think it's not something you just jump in and say, like, let's just figure it out. To get to that next level, you really need to do a homework and a project plan. I think really need to be thoughtful.
This episode is brought to you by Green Skies Analytics, an audit analytics service provider that works with internal audit departments that have data analysts and are still frustrated with trying to make analytics actually work, aren't getting the expected ROI, who can't break through the communication barrier between the analysts and the audit team, and those that need experienced direction for an audit analytics strategy and process. Those that feel like they've wasted time and money on trainings, aren't getting the value they want, not prioritizing the highest risk areas for the organizations, or have projects that seemingly never get completed. Do you deal with any of that? If you do, go to the show notes of this episode and click the Green Skies Analytics link, or go to greenskiesanalytics.com to schedule a call and understand how Green Skies Analytics makes analytics actually work for internal audit. This episode is brought to you by Supervisor. Supervisor is a ready-to-use audit analytics platform that integrates with your ERP and any other systems you have to provide actual continuous monitoring for risk across all your transactions. They have more than 350 out-of-the-box checks and analytics to enable your team to perform full population testing, detect multiple types of anomalies, and identify potential fraudulent activity. That's going to give you an unparalleled level of assurance in your financial processes. Built by internal audit and accounting experts, so your team can get value from the first day of usage. So imagine having no analytics today, walking in tomorrow, and having up to 350 audit analytics already run. You don't have to necessarily take my word for it, though. Global organizations such as IKEA, Michelin, Lacoste, and numerous others trust Supervisor to enhance their audit capabilities and increase their assurance.
This podcast is also brought to you by Audit Board, the leading cloud-based platform transforming how enterprises manage risk. Audit Board's integrated suite of easy-to-use audit, risk, and compliance solutions streamlines internal audit, SOX compliance, risk management, and security compliance. Automate processes and improve execution with Audit Board's purpose-built solution, which is designed to address the most pressing challenges of today's practitioners. Experience the latest in audit, risk, and compliance technology. Visit auditboard.com to schedule your product walkthrough to see Audit Board's award-winning platform in action today.
Hey everybody, before we jump into the show, I just want to let you know that the Audit Analytics and AI Conference is September 25th and 26th this year. It's all virtual, so no matter where you are in the world, you can absolutely attend. Recordings are also available, so if you are 12 hours away and don't want to be up at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, you can purchase the recordings. This is the only conference that's strictly about analytics and AI for internal audit. So you're going to get your practitioners' use cases. This thing is practitioner-led, save for one speaker that we had this year, but everyone else is in your peer group, ranging from the largest internal audit data analytics teams in the world down to the individual contributor who spends, like, hey, I got 50% of my time I can dedicate towards analytics. Each speaker's mission is to show you how to actually do what they are talking about. So thought leadership is great, and there will certainly be some of that, but for the most part, that's great. We love the thought leadership. Show us how to actually do it. We are currently at 19 speakers and counting, so we're going to add a few more, and you can get up to 19 CPEs if you attend. Check out the link in the show notes, or you can search for Google theauditanalyticsconference.com, and you can register there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Audit Podcast. I'm your host, Trent Russell, and today on the show, we have Yasemin Agatan. She's the Chief Audit Executive at Clarivate, which is the leading global provider of transformative intelligence, aka a really big data company. Some of the things that we hit on is what Yasemin needs to take analytics for her department, even though she's at this huge data company. What does she need to take analytics to the next level? And then I don't think I've ever met an auditor that goes, just give me SOX work. I love it. Let's just do SOX all the time, all day, year round. Yasemin has been able to take It was about 85% of the work was SOX, and over the past 7-ish years, she's been able to reduce that to like a 50-50 mix of SOX versus operational. And so I know there's a lot of people that are looking for solutions to that, and so Yasemin shares that insight with us. Also talk about risks that she's had to prioritize lately. And in developing the internal audit strategy over the years, we asked Yasemin, what do you actually present to the audit committee? What does your audit committee care about? How do you actually show that strategy to them as well? For those that are looking to implement or upgrade maybe to the new standards from the IAA, strategy is a big piece of that for some folks that are maybe haven't formalized a strategy for their internal audit department or the analytics function within their audit department. And so we're doing a little bit of a dive on strategies in general for chief audit executives and internal auditors. All right, here we go. All right, so what is in your either your internet browsing history and or, I guess, your ChatGPT history of late?
All right. Well, first, if you don't mind, I just want to start out with saying, thank you for having me on the show. And I want to say that I'm a big fan of your show.
Thank you.
I am an avid listener of podcasts. I usually listen to them when I walk my dogs. And yours is definitely one of the ones, if there's a new episode, I make sure I listen to that first. I probably have listened to, I think, all of them. So,
wow.
Thanks for having me. When you asked, I think I told you, I was like, I thought you'd never ask. I always wanted to be on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you for that. And before I get to anything else, I also want to state that whatever we discuss here is just my opinions. They don't represent the position or opinions of my current employer. And with that, I guess now I can come back to your question of internet browsers. So yesterday was my sister's birthday, and she and I both like to travel a lot. I probably have like 10,000 pictures of our travels from, the past. And I was watching some YouTube on my internet browser on AI video generation and editing tools. My God, there are so many.
Nuts.
Didn't realize there were that many with different capabilities, the avatars, all-in-ones, and clip generators. So that's what I was doing online, trying to figure out a way to like put our pictures into like a nice video.
Oh, that is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be able. They're very easy to use, but I don't know if we'll see. I might need to do some training on it first. And then in terms of ChatGPT, I've been recently looking at the top, like most commonly used KPIs in internal audit. Just wanted to compare it to what we use. So that's been in my ChatGPT history.
That's a good one. I'll tell you, this is mine for today. So we are roughly in Q3 for 1231s anyway. And so obviously I've been talking to ChatGPT for the past, year and a half. And it's gotten somewhat new functionality called a memory, I believe is what it's called. But it basically taps into old conversations you've had. So if you start a new conversation, it, kind of does its thing. And then it goes, oh, we were talking about this 2 weeks ago. Do you want to pick it up from where we left off? And you go, yeah, that's cool. And so I was thinking about that and it being Q3 and thinking about Q3 goals and everything like that. And I have it set up to say, hey, I'm a audit analytics consultant, so keep that in mind as you answer my questions kind of thing. Like that's my the way I have it set up. And so I thought, all right, this thing knows me pretty well by now. And so I just said,
you go way back.
So I asked it, I was like, hey, what do you think my Q3 goals should be, to see if it could pull, from the memories and go, you should consider. And it obviously wasn't perfect, but I went, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. That's a good idea. I should consider that. So it was really good about ideating on even my goals for Green Skies and the analytics consulting side, which I thought was pretty interesting. So
that's amazing.
That's literally top of mind. I mean, did it an hour ago, and so that's why I wanted to.
Yeah, that's a good one.
With that said, what about? I know we talked analytics before, also. So what do you need to take analytics to the next level for your internal audit department?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, and probably a question that's on the minds of a lot of internal audit leaders. Data analytics is no longer an option, right? It's kind of mandatory, I think, for the modern internal audit team. And it's not just the basic, data analytics we're talking about here now, right? Anymore, right? We all do that, some level of that, but the advanced level of data analytics. I think the first thing is, you need to explicitly state, allocate some budget to it in your internal audit plan. Make sure everyone is aware of it, senior management, the audit committee, and I think it needs to be an adequate amount. It's not 100 hours or 200 hours. It needs to be a good amount, because I think to get to that next level, you need to do a lot of homework, like a lot of planning, upfront planning. At least that's my opinion, because the purpose, I think, isn't just to do some data analytics for the sake of checking a box saying we do data analytics, right? It needs to really add some value, so that in the end, when you get the results, it actually has some impact. You can do an analytics on, let's say, T&E, time and expenses, but if in the end it's not material and you find something, it's not a big deal, I don't know if that time spent is worth it. So you need to find out, where is that data analytics necessary? Where is it required? Where is that people want that information, but they don't currently have it? So I think you need to identify the use cases and think about that really thoroughly, and get away from the high level. We need to identify the anomalies, or, to identify trends, help in decision making. But okay, that's all true. But what specifically, what ideas, and then really start focusing on those 3, 5, whatever they are, use cases.
And to your point, the not finding anything. So there was a group we worked with, and they went, yeah, we did what you said. We went through, we got the data, we cleaned it. It came from multiple systems, cleaned it, joined it all together, took a long time to do it. And then we ran the analysis and we didn't find anything. And I went, good. And they were like, wait, what do you mean? And I went, so that risk that you were looking at is basically zero.
Right.
To a degree. Basically, and you can never say it's absolute. I said, did you share that with the board? And they went, I didn't really think about it like that. So I think a lot of people still think if you don't find anything, it's a failure. But if it's especially a control tied to your strategic objectives, and you go, hey, we're good here. Like we've tested 100%, and we're good. That's a win also. So I did want to make that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. It's the identifier is where you think there's a risk, a real risk, or where you think you can add value with that additional information. Yeah. So if you end up, to your example, you didn't find anything, great. Then, you kind of mitigated that risk, or you looked into it. So, but to do that, I guess you really need to understand the business, right?
Yes.
I will probably come back to that idea many times, during our chat. It's so important to really understand the business of the company, to understand where those value points are, or the pain points, or the risks.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is what you just mentioned is the information management, right? I think that's a challenge when you have, many systems, non-standardized formats of data. And sometimes even I've run into this, you have the data in the system, but let's say it's not a required field. So not everybody fills it out, or there's no training on how that data, everybody fills it out differently. It's not consistent. Or you don't check the accuracy of the data, so you can't rely on it. So it gets very complicated, I think, with the data. Just trying to make sure it's complete and accurate and reliable and doesn't have any biases in there. So the data hygiene and management is key. I think we need to, once we identify those areas, that's why I think you really need to be specific with it, because then you have a small, then you know what you're working with. Because sometimes, like in my example, if it's something is optional, you could consider a business process, re-engineering to say, now we're going to require that field. But of course, that needs to be a decision, cost-benefit analysis. Is it worth it? So it's the homework part, I think, and the data plans, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I think that's what takes the longest. And then those decisions comes to I think my next point is you need a lot of collaboration. When I said actually internal audit needs to put some time on their budget, it's also ideal to identify what other parties you're going to work with and for them to put the time on their budgets too. If they, if you can get everybody to align that it's valuable, goal.
And I'm glad when you were talking budgets, you were speaking more on the hourly than the monetary. And a lot of times people go, oh, if we're going to start this initiative, then we need the monetary piece. And then that, even if that goes through, then what we tend to see is enough thought was not given to the hourly budget. Like, are we going to have to drop an audit to make this initiative effective? Or are we okay doing that? Can we do that? Is the audit committee going to be okay with that? Or where do we find the hours? This expectation that people are just going to do it off hours or during the weekend
Right.
is pretty unrealistic.
Right. That's exactly actually what I meant. Yeah, I know there could be a dollar cost too, but I more mean the hours.
Yeah.
And it's not like I said $200-300. I think it's a lot more than that. And it involves other people too. In the past, we've had instances where we identified some areas, but we needed the assistance of the IT team, and they didn't have the hours, But next year, when we were planning, we actually got them on board, and they put the hours in their budget too. So, nice. And it's not just them. You need the operational people sometimes to weigh in on things. So it's again, I'm doing that upfront planning. Who would be involved with this? It's not just internal audit. I think if it was just internalized, obviously it would be easier because I can control that probably. But when it's other people, you just need to get aligned upfront. Then, technology, like now the dollars, we might need. I don't necessarily think you always need a tool, but probably for the advanced analytics, it's
depending
probably
on the use case.
Yeah, depending on the use case, I think it could very well be that there's going to be a new tool necessary, and that's definitely a consideration. And then I guess the skills of the team, right? Right now we're making it obviously data analytics automation one of our departmental goals, so everybody's getting trained on it, but not everybody will be a data analytics expert. So I think it's helpful to identify a champion in the team to co-lead the effort. And I think as a department, it should be a department-wide goal to kind of uplift the skill set, but having a few people be the champions and lead it, I think could help us get to that next level as well.
Got it. Yeah, definitely use case drives the tool, not let's buy the tool then figure out how to use it. I don't need a Ferrari for a family car, like that, the tool, and it's cool and shiny and super awesome. But if I just buy the car first and then think about why I need it, doesn't really make as much sense as not a minivan. I'm not a minivan guy, but something with 4 or 5 seats in it for sure, as opposed to
yeah. In the end, it always comes back down to, I think that it's a little bit of a cliche almost, but the people, process, technology, right?
Yep.
You need the people to be skilled, the right technology, and then you need to have the right process in place to pick which cases and really be thoughtful about it. So I think it's not something you just jump in and say, like, let's just figure it out. To get to that next level, you really need to do a homework and a project plan. I think really need to be thoughtful, but we all need to get there. So
yeah. People, process, technology, that's where our conversations revolve around on the analytics side. So that's absolutely true. Well, I know that a lot of people use analytics or more so automation when there's this initiative to let's decrease the amount of SOX work that we're doing or at least time spent on it, so that we can focus more on the operational work. I think most auditors enjoy the operation side more so than the SOX side. Certainly not all, but most, in my opinion. And so this is, I think, fascinating. It's something that a ton of people are looking to do and are trying to do, is reduce that amount of SOX work so they can focus on the ops side more. And I know, 7 years ago, you were at about 85% SOX, 15% operational, and now you're at 50-50. I think
we're getting to 50-50. Yes, exactly.
How did you do that? I think I think immediately people went, how'd you do that? I want to do it. Tell me exactly the playbook, because we are tired of doing SOX. How did you do that?
Yeah. For the record, I like SOX, but no, I think the allocation of the internal audit time is, typically driven by what the organizational current needs and priorities are, right? And 7 years ago, as we were going public, for the, obviously the first time, our primary focus was SOX compliance. And then as our SOX our SOX processes started to mature, the SOX demand started to, come down a little bit, right? And with that, I think, we use that time to branch into other areas. But to be able to get the buy-in to do that, I think looking back on it, a couple of the things we did were, first of all, again, I'll talk about understanding the business, right? I think, I've always emphasized the importance of that to really get down not just a superficial understanding, but an understanding of what drives our business, what do our leaders care about, what's the company's goals. And once we started to understand those better and show leaders that's what we're trying to do we would schedule, regular meetings with our leaders, and I don't mean like every month and take their time just to chit chat, but more like quarterly or semi-annual, whatever what cadence they would like. And to understand more from them. So we kind of like, building up that trust your advisor thing a little bit to also educate them on what we do. A lot of times, I think even if they weren't really involved with what we do normally, we kind of, we always give them an update on what we've been doing. So they see that we're not, let's say, just purely a SOX shop, but we do other things, or we're interested in other things. We're asking good questions. So I think building up, fostering those relationships really helped us. The other thing we have done is, again, embed ourselves into operations more in terms of, participating in various project steercos, knowing what's going on in the company, reading a lot on. We have a wonderful, site where there's news about our company, our products, reading up on those and encouraging our team to read it, attending product demos. And I think it's really, once you understand that, understand the business more, and people see that you do, then they see this could be a partner for us. Maybe they don't have the time to do something that they always wanted to do, or a pain point. So, and then when you give them the chance during these meetings to say, would you like us to help with anything? And we've always tried to be very flexible and responsive if there's a request. And slowly, I think we built up that relationship where we get some requests. Two, the other thing I've always done is, I think on the internal audit plan, if a project makes it there, I think it's either a top 10 risk for the company or for the industry, or directly, tangibly, in a tangible way, tied to an organizational objective. And what I mean by that is, if the company's objective is growing revenue, we come up with a proposed project to, let's say, identify source of revenue leakage. If our main focus is cost optimization, we come up with a project to, I'm making it up, to look into like software licensing, where, if our main goal is to increase customer satisfaction, we come up with a project to look at our customer lifecycle account management. So very directly related to company objectives or to top 10 risks. So it's hard for people to say, no, I don't want you to do that project, because, it's very directly related to what's going on their agenda.
Yeah. So for reducing the amount of SOX work, it sounds like kind of the approach was, all right, the better the relationship we have with the business, the more requests we're going to get from them. And so we can say, look, this is way more important than SOX. Is that part of the approach as well?
Oh, no, I don't think that part of it, some of our savings from SOX was one, our, processes improving.
Okay.
So it's, and two, automation. We, from very early days of our SOX compliance, we implemented a tool, and we use that tool to probably its maximum capacity. We implemented the workflows, so it doesn't take us as much time as it did up front, and we love our control owners and process owners significantly during our processes. They do a lot of the updates, as they should, because they own the processes. We have automated our reporting. So we don't have to, come out with like monthly reports anymore. We have a dashboard that anybody has real-time access to. So they can just click and go there. If we identify issues, we have a workflow that automatically takes place. So the automation and maturing of the processes is how we saved some time on SOX.
Perfect.
And then instead of cutting those hours, I think the second part of what I was saying is, by convincing people of the value we add, then we started adding some additional projects in other areas.
All right, I'm sure people listening heard you say, hey, we use this tool and it automated all this and we have these workflows and now reporting's all in this one spot and it's on this dashboard, and they're going, well, I want that too. Like, that sounds perfect. What is the tool? And then probably more importantly is people understanding just because you purchase the tool doesn't mean you're going to have the same results. So if you could talk us a little bit about the implementation of that also.
Sure. I mean, the tool we use is Audit Board SOX Up. Again, we did our implementation slowly, but we started using it, almost immediately as we started even before we went public, as we started the program, we started using it. And to your point, it's not about, of course, just because you bought the tool, isn't it? But we have a lot of great team members on our team who really enjoy the tool and who have done an amazing job of, really spending time with the tool, working with the audit board team to identify how can we do this, how can we do that, and they enjoy it. So, I think it's the tool and the team I have who is amazing and who love doing it and who's really helped us automate these things.
Yeah, back to people, process, technology. If you drop one of those in that, it's not going to work out right.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't do it on my own. I do want to give a shout out to my team. They've done an amazing job with the tool.
All right. Well, what with especially AI, supply chain, inflation, everything that's kind of going on in the world right now, what emerging risks have you had to kind of take in and prioritize of late?
I know this isn't necessarily an emerging risk because it's been on there for a while, but it's like new things come out. So it's, in a way, it is emerging, is for cybersecurity. Probably goes without saying, right? Data privacy, the new laws that are coming out different parts of the world. Those are risks that we're monitoring and we're paying attention to. Digital transformation, digital disruption with AI, of course, we're looking into governance around AI, controls around the process, supply chain, third-party risk management, are areas, the nth parties, the third parties and the nth parties, I guess, are areas that we're really looking into, and business continuity, organizational resilience. I know these aren't necessarily emerging risks. They've always been around, but they're still really top of mind. I think the other emerging risk is maybe not an organizational risk, but an internal audit risk is what we're just talking about. It's the risk of staying behind and becoming irrelevant if we don't go into data analytics and automation. I think that's a risk for internal audit departments, and that's something we've been monitoring also, as you can tell.
Okay. In terms of priorities, coming back to that, because there's so many things that we need to know, learn, understand, etc. Obviously, the business is a big one, but then external threats or risks, whatever we want to call them. And so it seems like if anyone flipped through your LinkedIn profile for 10 seconds, they would say, all right, Yasemin's way of doing this is to go through certifications. And so in the past month, certification, ESG risk and opportunities, data prep with Alteryx, and Six Sigma. And that's just within the past month. So is that kind of your go-to? Is that how you like to do it as like a CAE? You go, hey, this thing is whatever, an emerging risk or something I need to learn more about. This is my go-to, is to get certified from some reputable source.
Yes. And before that, I think I did some AI training as well. So the certifications that I try to get, I think are good. They align well to what I'm thinking, what the risks that I see are coming that I need to educate myself on. So you can absolutely say that, yes. I think it was AI. I did supply chain. I don't know if I put that one on there. I did a certification on supply chain. ESG.
So the past month, that one's not on there, but
then it might be the last 2 months.
Yeah, let me expand and see, because
if I didn't forget to put that on there, yeah.
Supply chain logistics, AI strategy and governance. We're going to get into that a little bit. Customer analytics. You are a machine on the certification front. AI for everyone. And those were within the past 2 months. So maybe a better question is, how do you find the time to do those?
Well, I found this tool, and it's not free, but it's really it's a very reasonable cost for a month. And maybe I'll say the name again. I'm not necessarily advertising for them, but I use a tool called Coursera, right? Coursera. And I really like that tool a lot, because, a lot of it is you just listening to things, and like I said, I do a lot of walking with my dogs, and I listen a lot during there. That's sometimes where I find the time to do it. So it's instead of me reading a book, I can listen to it. So that's probably one of the ways I get the time to do it.
Okay. Yeah, we love Coursera. Udemy is another one. They have a lot of good technical trainings on there for any given, whatever, Power BI, pretty much anything. I'll say most organizations have some kind of agreement with these types of online training. So those are two, Coursera and Udemy, that we typically see. But then there's others that we've seen. LinkedIn Learning is a good one that a lot of organizations, you have access to it. And so it might be worth talking to HR or someone in like a training department and go, hey, do we have access to any of this stuff that I can just do for free instead of having to pay for it? And you likely do. I think that's
a really good point. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like $40 a month or something. So it's very reasonable, I think. But yeah, it'll be definitely for, if you add up everybody else who would want to do it, I think that's a really good idea. I might do that.
We also talked about, especially with the standards, the new IA standards coming out, there's significantly more of a call for a formalized strategy for internal audit with strategic objectives, your vision, mission statement. I don't think it's called out specifically, I don't think, but your roadmap, et cetera, how you're going to implement this. Technology is a huge piece of that, and your strategy around technology. And so I know you've worked on yours, and you've had one even prior to.
Yeah, we've had it for a long time.
Yeah. So what is that? Not necessarily what does it look like, but what do you present to the audit committee relative to your strategy?
Yeah, like I said, I've always done a strategic plan. Usually what I've done is a 3-year strategic plan. And yeah, we do have our mission, our purpose, mission, vision. And, we really have thought about those things. And we didn't just, we didn't chat GPT it, I can tell you that. We've really thought about where we want to be. So we just kind of do a comprehensive plan, identify where we want to be at the end of the 3 years and how we're going to get there, right? I mean, in the strategic plan, we cover those areas. We cover our team competencies, where we want our team to get to, our risk coverage in percentages. We really say, we're at 30, I'm making it up, of course, 30%. I want to get to 50% coverage or 100% coverage over the 3 years. And then we also do a very detailed, we go over our quality assurance program as part of the strategic plan. And within that, we do a balanced scorecard with our top 20 KPIs, and we score ourselves. And let's say, we say like we're at 70 now, and in 3 years we want to get to 85, let's say. And we kind of show what those KPIs are and how we're going to get that again. So it's not just the engagements that we talk about within our strategic plan, but it's also our team and our KPIs and our performance metrics we talk about. We really do a return on investment because, obviously we have our budget, but we also save the company some money by, some of the projects that we do or external auditor reliance. So we like to show a return on investment and what number we're at now, where we want to get to, our cost per hour, really get down to basic. We want to keep it to very measurable goals versus, the intangibles. I mean, we cover those too, but I like to, have a lot of, tangible numbers, metrics that we commit to.
Okay. If there was the audit committee, the board said, hey, we want to understand that everyone is every org or every department rather is aligned to the org strategy or something like that. Like everybody bring your one pager for your department strategy. What would be on your one pager?
think it has to be adding value to the business, right? Understanding of how we contribute to the organizational goals, and how we mitigate the risk, of course. Yeah. But it's not, I don't see internal audit as just, how we mitigate risk, but how do we add value, contribute to the organizational goals and priorities. So I think those are the metrics I would show.
Got it. Yeah. And I've been on this kick for a while now about, we talk about risk all the time. And I just imagine CEOs, CFOs, et cetera, sitting there going, yep, here's audit. They're going to talk about risk again. But if we flipped it, the other side of risk to me is opportunity. And so rather than talking risk, we went, look, here's the opportunities we identify, or whatever they
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I'm going to listen. Now we're talking about opportunities. That's what we care the most about.
That's what we strive to do. Nice. That's one of our department's main goals. And the audit committees, I think they want to get the maximum value out of internal audits within the context of the organization, of course. And that's not, mitigating risk is important, of course, but they want to see other value as well, I think.
All right. So with all that said, Yasemin, what is it? You have one thing that you want to leave the audience with today. What is that?
I guess I just wanted to mention something that I recently came across, on social media. I usually search for topics like travel, pets, news, recipes, whatever it is. But I never really search for internal audit on social media. Of course, I'm not counting like LinkedIn and stuff, as I'm talking about like Instagram or TikTok. And I recently did that, and I was really surprised to see so much on there with not just internal audit, but external audit as well. These many, especially from Big Four, many people online going through their 9 to 5. I don't know if you've ever seen those things. They're like, hey, I get up in the morning, I go to my Big Four office or my company's internal audit department. And then, their lunch break, they kind of go through their 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, whatever it is. Kind of make it fun, and then they go to their gym break, etc., hang out with their internal audit friends or external audit friends. I'd never seen that, but there are so many of them out there. First of all, I thought, my God, when I started at Deloitte, we probably could not do things. We were a little bit more, serious and regimented, I think. But these guys are doing a lot of this, and I thought, this is kind of it's kind of nice, it shows people it's not, it could be fun, it's not just the, numbers and just serious topics, but there's team spirit, and these people are learning interesting things. I thought it was good to, one, show a fun side, and two, to just increase awareness of the profession. I just thought it was fun. And then I thought, it's, we always deal with, this problem and this risk and that. And it's good to incorporate fun into it, sometimes. And that's what I thought maybe I'd leave the audience with.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Audit Podcast. Whatever platform you're listening on right now, I'm sure there's a subscribe button somewhere, so please hit the subscribe button there. If you're listening through iTunes or Spotify, feel free to go give us that 5-star rating. It only took me about 16 seconds to give myself a 5-star review, and it really helps to get future guests to come on the show, so we'd really appreciate that. Lastly, be sure to check out the show notes and follow us on all our social media channels on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on TikTok. Also, if interested, please sign up for our weekly newsletter from the Audit Podcast. Thank you all. Have a great one.